Hello and welcome to Inside Indonesia, brought to you by the Jakarta Globe. I'm your host, Lynn Neumann, and today is Scottish Day on Inside Indonesia, and I want to pull back the shot and show you our guest, local businessman, man about town, raconteur, and the guiding force behind the Jakarta Highland gathering, Alistair Speirs. Thank you for wearing the kilt.
My pleasure.
You may sit down.
Thank you very much, Lynn.
We wanted everybody to get a chance to see the kilt.
Good.
You're the first person on the show ever in a kilt.
I hope not the last.
I hope not. We're going to make it. Perhaps we'll make it a tradition.
Good. Once a year.
We're here to talk about a lot of things, but let's principally the Jakarta Highland Gathering. For people in the audience who don't know about the Jakarta Highland Gathering, tell us about it.
The Jakarta Highland Gathering, well, amazingly, we're in the 33rd year. It actually started 35 years ago, with 2 years off for, well, shall we say, security and financial problems, as has happened in Indonesia. However,
there were a couple of years taken off there by everybody.
Yes,
at a certain point.
True. 35 years ago, there wasn't so much to do in Jakarta, so a bunch of Scots sat around and said, let's do what we do in Scotland and have a Highland Gathering. And a Highland Gathering is basically a part family day, it's part competition, it's part exhibition, and totally festival. It's just fun.
Right, right. And 35 years, I didn't realize, I thought it had just been a dozen years or so now. How did it actually get started?
Well, you know, what you need is people who can do the things that we need. Pipers, people to toss the caber, which I'm sure you're going to ask me about later. People who know what the Scottish traditions are. Dancing. Now, dancing's quite easy because it's kind of, you can do it as an amateur. And so dance groups were already dancing around Jakarta. To get the pipers, though, we had to bring them in from all of the places which were colonized by Britain and left behind army traditions. So the Singapore police, the Hong Kong police, they all have pipers. Absolutely, the Sikhs, and of course, all the way around Australia.
Oh, okay. And where does it take place? Now it's out in Lippo Karawaci Village, as they call it these days.
Yes.
How long has it been out there?
It's been there for about 5 years. And we've got a kind of special spot out there on an island. So it's
it's on the island.
It's on the island, which is great fun. It's got a moat around it for security.
Right. in case any invading Visigoths or something.
Well, you can never tell. More care about little kids coming and taking things rather.
Oh, I see. Okay. Now, my sense is that one of the guiding lights behind this for years was Gordon Benton, who played a major role in building Lippo Karawaci.
Absolutely. Gordon Benton was one of the founders and drove it for years with his determination and with his vision of keeping it very Scottish.
And he's not going to be here this
He
time,
will be here, yes.
Oh, he will.
He's coming back from Aberdeen, getting on a plane and coming down here. He wouldn't miss it.
He wouldn't miss it. Excellent. Yes. How big is the Scottish community in Jakarta?
Well, you know, Scots have always been everywhere around the world. You can't, you know, it's virtually impossible to get a capital city without Scots in. They're in the oil industry, they're in the finance industry, they're in the insurance industry. So we've got maybe 150 families here in Jakarta who are really Scottish, but maybe 500 throughout Indonesia.
Oh, really? Okay, so it's not an insignificant expat community.
Small compared to some, but quite vocal and quite active, shall we say.
I've met some of the more vocal ones rather late into the evening from time to time.
Yeah, they do. They get more vocal late in the evening.
As the evening wears on. Now, I do want to ask you about this. What do you call tossing the
Tossing the caber. We see
tossing the caber.
Part of it,
which is a big log.
It is. It's 120 kilograms of log, but it's also rather long. It's about 5 meters long. So to try and upend this is quite a skillful thing. First of all, you've got to pick it up, then you've got to toss it point over point, and it's whether you get it to the 12 o'clock position, that's the winner.
And is it supposed to? It doesn't stick in the ground.
No, it goes boing and over, and if it lands straight ahead, you're the winner.
And is this something that one practices throughout the year, or?
Look, the tradition was that all of these heavies events, as they're called, were done as practice for warfare. It was to keep the young men fit. So they toss weights over their heads, weights for height, weights for length, the shot put, and the traditional hammer with a solid wooden handle.
Right. I've seen that.
And we do all of that in the Highland Gathering here. It's really great fun.
And is it now? This is obviously one associates Highland Gathering with Scots. Are people like Americans and Indonesians and even the Irish welcome?
Look, first of all,
I know they are, of course. Well, maybe not the Irish.
Yes, of course. They're all welcome. Absolutely all welcome. First of all, this is now an event for families. And it's for Indonesian families more than anybody else. It's done to try and show Indonesia that there are living cultures outside Indonesia. Because Indonesia's got a living culture, from everything from Betawi through Bali.
Sure.
Not many other countries have got living cultures who wear their traditional dress, play their traditional instruments, and we in Scotland have it, and we feel it's a great thing to share.
And it's actually not, in all seriousness, it's not just a dress up Halloween thing. The Irish, the Scottish wear the kilt. It means something, and it's still a part of the tradition.
We find it hard to go out and have a glass of whiskey together without wearing a kilt. On formal occasions, it's a must. The St Andrew's Ball, the Burns Supper, we wear our kilts.
And proudly so.
Absolutely. And by the way, the ladies kind of like it. So it's never a bad thing to do.
It's as long as you got good legs. And your legs are pretty good.
Oh,
I'm
thank
impressed with your legs. They're holding up well.
Can't see them, fortunately, no.
When we come back, we're going to talk more with Alistair about the Highland Gathering, what exactly goes on out there, and what some of the ways the event also contributes to the community. You're watching Insight Indonesia, brought to you by the Jakarta Globe. Stay with us.